our brilliant speaker, Dr. Amita Valmiki, is waiting us. Okay, you know Dr. Amita Valmiki, the professor head at the College of Arts, Science and Commerce in Mumbai. Dr. Amita Valmiki is a very brilliant scholar and teacher who obtained twice postdoctoral philosophy and proved her academic interest in philosophy. The area of interest of Dr. Amita includes philosophy of religion, ethics, existentialism, mysticism, philosophy of films, arts and aesthetics, theistic existentialism, and many more things. Dr. Amita Valmiki has more than 30 years of teaching experience. To her credit, Dr. Valmiki Madam has authored a couple of books, includes The Path of Theistic Mysticism, The Only Hope for the Future, The Dark Comedy, which is very popular. Okay, Dark Comedy, a philosophical introspection, and the book, which has made her very popular, is her co-edited book, The 100 Years of Indian Cinema, Issues, Challenges in Retrospection. This book, 100 Years of Indian Cinema, has made Dr. Valmiki very popular. That is in our country. And Dr. Valmiki has been invited to many colleges, many universities to share her philosophical reflection on her area of interest. Dr. Valmiki has participated in many national and international seminars, conferences, workshops, and she has shown her expertise. And you can find all her talks and academic interest and in YouTube's. Dr. Valmiki is a regular speaker in Philosophy Family, and she has strengthened the academic activities of Philosophy Family. I don't want to speak much of her. She is a very talented and dynamic and student lovely teacher who always speaks. I teach being a student always. I teach being a student always. Thanks so much, Dr. Valmiki Madam, to be with us in the Sunday webinar. And over to Dr. Valmiki Madam to speak on the scheduled topic. Over to Madam.
Thank you so much, sir. Respected all teacher friends on this particular platform, and I'm extremely thankful to Philosophy Family for giving me so many times opportunity to speak and convey my thoughts on various topics of my interest, and have allowed me to speak on what I feel that which is very near to my heart. Philosophy of film is one of the areas where I do my research, and it's my interest area. Also that I've been teaching from quite many years, philosophy of film in MA class, and writing articles and researching more about the ontology of film. So today I'm going to speak about ontology of cinema. Cinema, what is cinema all about? Why cinema? What cinema is cinema in Aristotle's terminology, being qua being. In the same way, cinema as cinema. What is it all about? And there are many theorists, but I have taken only one particular because of the paucity of time. I have taken only one film theorist, Susan Langer, who calls cinema, though my major area of interest in cinema is realism in cinema. But I have taken Susan Langer's view, which is I have tried to incorporate in realism in cinema. Her theory is cinema as she is describing, giving an analogy of dream. So she is comparing a cinema or film to dreams, and why that we will see in my presentation. Whenever I am extending a particular given time limit, please ask me, please tell me to stop, okay? Because once I start talking about cinema, it's very difficult to curb me. So please, I request you that you just say that you can wind up and conclude. I will try as much as possible to to be in a particular time limit. I start my presentation. Reena, if I'm not wrong, I hope I'm doing justice to this sharing. It's not entire windows, I think, right? So I think, yeah, this is, everybody can see this. If I enlarge this, if I go to full screen, then I think it doesn't move. So just see if it is moving. Yeah. See, then it doesn't come. Does it? It doesn't.
No. Yeah,
it doesn't come. So I keep it short only this way, and I hope that is fine.
Ma'am, 1 minute. Can you go to the tab?
I'll go to the tab. Stop sharing. Yeah. I'll go to the tab. Yeah. I'll go to the tab. Yeah.
And now share the screen.
Yeah. Now but it's not coming. I go to the tab. This. Share. No, it doesn't come.
Ma'am, in window once again, just present the entire window.
Yeah, entire window I have tried, but it doesn't come in that way because it doesn't move.
See, ma'am.
No, it doesn't come. This is what has happened in my MA class. So,
Madam, please go on with the earlier version, madam. Please.
Yeah, okay. So, okay.
We can zoom in and see it.
Yeah. Please do this for me.
Yes.
Please do that. Yeah.
So I can zoom in. So
Yeah. You can zoom in and see.
I can see.
Okay, so this is Ontology of Film. I will try to read the text as much as possible to wind up on time and we can have discussion because in this matter I have taken a few film theorists, but I have emphasized only on one film theorist, and that is Susan Langer. Now, according to these three masters whom I adore very much, Abbas Kiarostami, of course, is a filmmaker, Iranian filmmaker who expired only about 3 or 4 years back, and I'm extremely sad about it in 2016. According to Andrei Bazin, French film theorist, he says, the cinema substitutes for our gaze a world more in harmony with our desires. Abbas Kiarostami, I just love his cinema and I adore him, says that I have often noticed that we are not able to look at what we have in front of us unless it's inside a frame. So the silver screen becomes very important, and where our gaze can be concentrated, and we can concentrate and enlarge it. And otherwise that we don't see, we can see there. Rudolf Arnheim, who is all for silent era, a German-American film theorist, says that the arts are neglected because they are based on perception, and perception is disdained because it is not assumed to involve thought, unquote. I go to the next slide. Film as an independent art form had taken backseat for long time, from the time of its inception, because film was never considered as an independent art form. It was always thought to be a medium of entertainment only. So it was much later that film got their independent maverick stature. And this was somewhere around 1980s that serious philosophizing took place, though much before during World War II, and even in 1920 also, people had started already philosophizing films. But that was not as systematic as it was done after 1980s. So the role played by cinema has been stupendous from the time of its inception. It is a cultural depiction, as we discussed in the previous talk by Manisha ji, that it's a cultural depiction on the screen that films are influenced by the existing culture, obviously, and cultures change. But once produced, it affects the audience's psyche and brings forth desirable, or often I say that commercial cinema that does, or undesirable changes in the society as well. Of course, I am not moral policing anything. Other forms of art, say painting, frescoes, music, dance, literature, opera, for example, always had their take as individual art form, but cinema was never granted this position because it was, as I told you, always thought to only entertain. It was much later that cinema is taken very seriously. Now, this particular magazine, Carrière du Cinéma, was started by Andrei Bazin and Francois Truffaut, and these French film theorists thought that we should write and critically analyze cinema and talk of ontology of films, and this was being neglected because it was never considered, as we discussed, that as a serious art form. So one has to always differentiate between philosophy in film and philosophy of film. Now, philosophy in film we are always doing from the time of film as a thing to be as a medium of entertainment. When it began. People started searching what is the philosophy in film. So we take all kind of movies in Indian cinema, for example, start with Achyut Kanya, or even before that Raja Harishchandra, the silent film, and then the talkies, and then you come to Eastman color, and then technicolor, and then virtual cinema or digital cinema. We always search that what is the narration going on, what is the story behind, what is the philosophy in film. But a philosophy of film is talking about the ontology of cinema as independent art form. What does it do? So the quest to explore the philosophy within a particular film is as old as when the French pair, that is Lumiere brothers, first venture of making a moving image and motion pictures produced during the period of 1895 to 1905. Now, from that time, philosophy in film they are discussing, but philosophy of film was later. So from silent era till date to digital virtual cinema, philosophy has been at the crux of a film, be parallel cinema, so-called art films, or to commercial films. The hunt to elucidate philosophy in a particular film has always been the basic human instinct, and it flows naturally as part of human tendency. So what we find is philosophy of film requires a trained set of minds. I'm sorry to say, but anybody cannot do that unless one is trained into doing this, because it has certain steps. And when you read Bazin's or Andrew Sari's or Noel Carroll, their work, you realize that you required a certain methodology, which is not normal philosophical methodology to evaluate or to analyze cinema, but it takes another faculty of your mind to discuss philosophy of film. So actually it discusses the ontological status of film. What is film all about? Why film is chosen as a medium of communication? What is the function of film? As Thomas Wartenberg explains, the book which is given here, there are many reasons for the field's recent growth. Suffice it to say here that changes in both academic philosophy and the cultural role of the movies in general made it imperative for philosophers to take film seriously as an art form on a par with the more traditional ones like theatre, dance, and painting. As a result of this surge in interest in film as a subject for philosophical reflection, the philosophy of film has become an important area of research in aesthetics. And aesthetics is one of the area where I also research Indian aesthetics compared to Western. And here you find that in a region of aesthetics also, philosophy of film has taken a very important position. Now, one more thing that we have to remember is that film studies is also different from philosophy of film, because film studies is showing the impact of film on society and society's impact on filmmaking, a particular type of filmmaking. For example, the two previous sessions of films that we discussed, Amar Prem and Thappad, in the same way that it shows what are the cultural norms or social political norms of society that affects or has an impact on making a particular type of film, and then later on the film's impact on society. Also, it takes the turnover and the box office revenue and this and that. All these political, economic, social, commercial aspects are involved in film studies, and that is not philosophy of film. So we are going to concentrate only on the ontological aspect when we are philosophizing film. So these are the master film theorists, starting from Rudolf Arnheim, from left to right, Andrei Bazin, Stanley Kavel, Gilles Deleuze, Gregory Curie, Noel Carroll, etc. Now, in this article, I particularly intend to analyze the film theorist Susan Langer's view on ontology of film. For example, Arnheim, in a quick glance at what are these film theorists say about cinema, as one-liners, what I have is that Arnheim was all in favor of silent era, because he says if there are too many facilities provided to a filmmaker, then he doesn't use his own potentials 100%. And when you have less facilities, less equipment in filmmaking, the more film becomes, you have a best film. That is what he says. So his very famous quote, which I always keep in my mind whenever I am in problem and I have no choice, then he says, Arnheim says that a great artist has no choice. Arbitrary choices exist only for mediocre artists, and this is a mind-blowing statement that in limited thing how great you can be. And the best example from our own country is Satyajit Ray or Ritvik Ghatak. These filmmakers, or Mrinal Sen, that they had a very technical help was very less. They used very less technicalities in their film, but they explored the silver screen and they had taken it to such an height that even today nobody can be compared to these film makers. The second one, Andrei Bazin and Stanley Kavel, both of them believed in realism in film, and this is my main area in cinema. I like very much that the realism which is portrayed. And they believed in the authorship of film, that is in the auteur theory. The auteur theory is, it's a French word for author. The way for a piece of literature author is, in the same way the director is for cinema. So he is like a dictator, a commander, and often underestimating other technicians' art. But if he is not taking this position as a commander, then probably you cannot produce a cinema of this teacher. That is what they say. So Kavel's book, The World View, declares that it is not possible to think seriously about film apart from philosophy, and that philosophy cannot avoid the subject of film. To that height, Kavel takes cinema to the level of philosophy, and philosophy to film. Deleuze, in his philosophy, belief plays a very important role. So film is not a medium to portray reality, but must exhibit this belief, which works as a link. So, for example, Ritvik Ghatak always believed cinema is cinema. You are not portraying reality. It comes real. That is another thing. But your whole belief system is being installed there. So Deleuze says that man is in the world as if in a pure optical and sound situation, the reaction of which man has been disposed can be replaced only by belief. Only belief in the world can reconnect man to what he sees and hears. The cinema must film not the world, but belief in this world. Our only link, unquote. Another film theorist in the middle, you see the image is of Gregory Curie, who beautifully narrates his theory, saying that film is a language. Of course, not an ordinary language, but it is not even governed by ordinary languages grammar, but it has its own grammar. And beautiful theorist, very, very elaborate that how film is as a language works. Noel Carroll is completely apart from all these one, and I'm very fortunate that I heard him live in Lisbon. I attended international seminar on cinema where he and I presented there on Satyajit Ray, and I felt so good that I was talking about Ray because he's one of my favorite filmmakers. So Noel Carroll is anti any kind of mold that is adopted for a cinema. He says film should not be fixated in any kind of mold. Let the audience decide and explore the cinematic or the cinematography or the cinematic realm. So theorists like Noel Carroll have elaborated and gone further to suggest that today a new integrated, interconnected, transnational artwork has emerged. So we find that we come to Susan Catherine Langer, who was an American philosopher, and her contribution of impact of art on mind is unique and exclusive. Langer considers film as dream. Her major work comprises of philosophy in a new key, a study in the symbolism of reason, right, and art. Second book, which is very popular, Feeling and Form. Third, Mind, an essay on human feeling, which came in 3 volumes. Why Langer gives dream analogy for films? This is because in her book, Feeling and Form, which I have taken a few parts from there, Langer compares 3 art forms that take an individual in different time zones that we will be discussing also in the next slide. Precisely for this reason, she compares film by giving the analogy of dream. And these 3 art forms that we are going to see, where she analyzes and says, compared to the other 2 art forms, why film is called as dream. So these 3 art forms, literature, theater, that is play, drama, and films, that we are going to see. So literature takes, she says that literature takes you in the past. Whenever you finish reading a piece of literature, you are in the past. And this happens, you climb the ladder, you go to the ascending or rather descending order in the past by way of memory. You take help of memory to go in past. So after finishing, Manisha ji must be experiencing this quite a lot, that after finishing a novel or maybe an essay or anything, a piece of literature, we reflect into the past because the author has already written things. So literature takes an individual in the past through the ladder of memory. The individual through literal hermeneutics enters in the time zone of the bygone era of the author and relational path of the literature. So I get connected to the author, his whole background, and here I especially like Slimakers or maybe Derrida's hermeneutics intended that you go in past. And you interpret, the art of interpretation takes place of past. So this is done through memory. While theater is movement in time, it reminds me somewhere else also in another slide I've written that Tarkovsky, Russian filmmaker, former time Soviet Union, he wrote a book called Sculpting in Time. So here, theater is movement in time because live movement, motion is there in front of you. Therefore, it takes an individual in the realm of future. So it is moving towards future. After seeing the drama, you come out of the theater and you are still moving ahead. So movement towards destiny it is. But film, like a line that has a starting point. I always give this analogy to in my MA class, that is in geometry when we say a line has a starting point and a definite end, a starting point and a definite ending point, but on that line how many points can you put? You can put infinite points. This analogy is like a dream analogy. So these infinite point are put. So it is everlasting. It is everlasting, but it is in the present. It is in now. So films are vartaman mein hai. It is at present. Therefore, films are everlasting now. That is what she says. Film is an eternal and ubiquitous present, creating an ever-changing future or destiny within an endless, but N is capital of now. It is now, but things are going on as you have a line, and you can put on that particular line infinite points. In the same way, infinite things you can think, because there are props which are there on the screen. In one shot, there are eye movement, facial gestures, facial expressions, the body movement, various lighting, camera work. So many things are there which are taking you to unlimited, zones, but everything is happening now. So cinema is therefore like a dream. That is what Langer says. And this whole modus operandi takes place in the realm, it's a realm of dream and no other sphere. And this everlasting now only happens in dream. When you are dreaming for a few minutes or 2 or 3 minutes, that is what the maximum, as psychologists say, the time limit of a dream. But you see endless era and so many hours and so many days and months and years pass by in that short period. And this is why she is giving a film a dream analogy. This kind of plot or scheme of movement is possible only in a dream-like structure. Here, one thing is to be kept in mind, that the dream, that is the camera, and behind the camera, the mind's eye, the agent is in the center. Now, therefore, while creating the dream, that is movie, the director is the dreamer. And while watching the movie, the dreamer is the observant, the audience. Excuse me. But the movie is in fact the status of dream analogy. So according to Green, Ullman and Tauber, I quote them, but the dreamer is always there. This aesthetic peculiarity, this relation to things perceived, characterizes the dream mode. It is this that the moving picture takes over, and whereby it creates a virtual present. In its relation to the images, actions, events that constitute the story, the camera is in the place of the dreamer, but of course camera is non-living, is inanimate, and the animate, the filmmaker, is the dreamer whose dream we are seeing, and then we start dreaming. But the camera is not a dreamer. We are usually agents in a dream. The camera is not itself in the picture. It is the mind's eye and nothing more. Neither is the picture likely to be dreamlike in its structure, unquote. So we find, according to Langer, it should not be mistaken as a new technical device implemented on drama, that we are actually filming a drama, that is cineplay, which is in vogue these days, highly in fashion in these days, that you, and especially in lockdown period, people, my friends who are in theater, they filmed the drama, and they had displayed that to people. But she says that you don't think that it is a drama being, captured on camera. It is different from that. So just a technical device is added, that is, you are using a camera and filming a drama. It is not like that. In fact, it should be taken as a new art form altogether. Langer describes this point beautifully in the following words. I quote her, "Here is a new art. For few decades, it seemed like nothing more than a new technical device in the sphere of drama, a new way of preserving and retailing dramatic performances. But today, its development has already belied this assumption. The screen is not a stage, and what is created in the conception and realization of a film is not a play. It is too early to systematize any theory of this new art, but even in its present pristine state, it exhibits, quite beyond any doubt, I think, says Langer, not only a new technique, but a new poetic mode. And when you see poetry, when you see music in the same way, you are completely dreaming in a poetic mode, even though it is a visual thing which you are able to see, but internal visualization like a dream that takes place in cinema, according to Langer. This is given in a film of Philosophy of Film and Modern Pictures and Anthology. So we find that, so the flow is poetic, which transcends the natural grammar of cinematic language. Obviously, it will have a different grammar, like Gregory Curie, I will be comparing. And de facto, this is the point where dream analogy perfectly fits for cinema as an art form. So this reminds me of film theorist Gregory Curie, who was of the view that the grammar of cinematic language is totally different, the way poetry explores its own grammar. Again, Langer reminds us that, you know, in poetry, jo achandas kavya hote hain, where you do not rhyme in poetry, and this, but still it has its own rhythm. In the same way, cinema explores like a poem without having that typical literary grammar. It goes with the grammar of, that is cinematic grammar. And that is very different, and that is why it is compared with it's like a poetic version, and therefore in a dream mode. Now, Langer reminds us that one has to segregate film from stage, as the provision of camera and its movement is not available to stage or drama. The code of conduct of cinema are altogether different from code of conduct of drama. And the image here you can see in a dream, it is visually you can see what it is happening, but still it is in a dream mode. Metamorphosis is film's forte. It transforms the whole thing. It doesn't transform, it is literal metamorphosis. It changes completely, which even animation films and documentaries too do not have. Because what happens is, in animation, you are totally depending on imagination. While in documentary, there is no scope of imagination and you cannot go beyond the facts. So dream analogy perfectly befits films as it documents in fiction. This reminds me of Andrei Tarkovsky's book, as I told you in the previous slide, that Sculpting in Time, Reflections on Cinema. Now, Langer believes, I quote, but it is not pantomime, as you can see in the image also, because, you know, cinema has been omnivorous, she says. It has swallowed all other art forms. So she says that, but it is not pantomime. It swallowed that ancient popular art as it swallowed the photograph. One of the most striking characteristics of this new art is that it seems to be omnivorous, able to assimilate the most diverse materials and turn them into elements of its own. So, these are the noteworthy filmmakers who completely befit in dream analogy of Susan Langer. Noteworthy filmmakers who befit into Langer's theory are Russian former Soviet Union filmmaker Andrei Tarkovsky, Iranian filmmaker Abbas Kiarostami, English filmmaker Michael Radford, Swedish filmmaker Ingmar Bergman, Lama Lachowski, who made Matrix. We all know this, and where Advaita philosophy was shown, where the concept of Maya was explored in Matrix. Then Indian filmmakers like Mani Kaul and Kumar Sani and many others who are fitting to the dream analogy of Susan Langer. I conclude with the quote by R.E. Jones, who notes that film transcends the spatio-temporal element like dream. Motion pictures, he said, are our thoughts made visible and audible. They flow in a swift succession of images, precisely as our thoughts do, and their speed with their flashbacks, like sudden uprushes of memory, and their abrupt transition from one subject to another approximates very closely the speed of our thinking. They have the rhythm of the thought stream, and the same uncanny ability to move forward or backward in space or time. They project pure thought, pure dream, pure inner life, unquote. The dreamed reality on the screen can move forward and backward because it is really an eternal and ubiquitous virtual present, as we had seen earlier. The action of drama goes inexorably forward because it creates a future, a destiny. The dream mode is an endless now. Therefore, for Susan Langer, film is always in a manner of dream. So here are a few references which I had taken. Langer says art is the creation of forms symbolic to human feeling. And the last quote that we take, the arts objectify subjective reality and subjectify outward experience of nature. Art education is the education of feeling, and a society that neglects it gives itself up to formless emotion. Bad art is corruption of feeling. And I think with this quote, we must realize that it is very sad that sometimes when I remember when our offline classes used to go, and some people thought that this particular subject has no value and it cannot be philosophized, films. They have often branded our classroom where we teach philosophy of film that it is nothing but entertainment. It is, I think, such a cliched and such a ruthless statements deteriorates, human internal existence, I feel. And therefore, she says art education is so very important. Here, I stop my presentation, but I would like to show you the dream mode where Andrei Tarkovsky's film Ivan's Childhood, which is of 1 minute and 1.36 minutes, just to give you the idea that how cinema works in a dream mode. So I just share. I hope you can see this.
Тут задержали. Младший тебя наказал оставить вам. Ползал у самого берега. Зачем не говорит? На вопросы не отвечает. Говорить мы могу только с самим командиром.
Я помню. Сообщите в 61-м, что я нахожусь здесь у вас. Сами же говорили, разведка самое главное. Сами же говорили, душа просто разведка.
This was my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Professor Valmiki, for having a very thought-provoking talk on the ontology of a film. And Madam, you have reflected on that film is a new art form or contemporary art form or independent art form. It comes through the wonders of the modern feelings. But for us, philosophy of film is a very challenging activity. But you have very beautifully analyzed that how philosophy in film, philosophy in film and philosophy of film. And you have also made a transition from silent era film to the digital films. Very beautifully, you have analyzed all things, the philosophical, that is the philosophical reflection of the things that many things we do not know. And I don't want to reflect on all the things that you have told. And you have said that that it is not possible to think seriously without films, and philosophy cannot avoid the subject of film. You have taken the name of Deleuze, Grigori, and others. Those have analyzed the film, and you have done. You have made that film is a dream-like structure and many things. And your last video is very mind-blowing. And with this, I request Professor Dr. Om Rao.
Morana sir, I particularly had shown this video because of the Ukraine and Russia war,
Yes,
and
yes,
we
yes.
have to really seriously be humane in
Okay.
installs peace.
Yes, yes. Then with this, I request Professor Dr. K. Rao to carry on the interactive session because all these things.
Thank you, Dr. Maharana. We have with us Dr. Tandon. Namaskar, sir. So welcome, sir.
Namaskar. I think
Namaskar, Alok Tandon sir.
Namaste, Amita ji.
Namaste.
I must congratulate you for the brilliant presentation on the philosophy of film today. And I just remember that last time when you were presenting, we talked about how to philosophize, how to have an understanding of film as a medium separate from other art forms. There is a thinking that film is just a combination of various art forms. So you took this challenge and came out with a brilliant presentation today. So I am very much delighted, and I hope that this is not the end. I think you will have to make further presentations to give us a full picture of philosophy of film. Now, my question is related to, as you have very well made a distinction between philosophy in film, philosophy of film, and especially the difference between the theater and the film. That I liked most. Now, the question is, when you are a devotee of realism, you follow realism, how would you explain, or you would like to connect realistic theory of films with this dream-like presentation, dream-like understanding of film? This is my question. Because I think this is to be reflected upon by you. And how should we look into our commercial cinema as a dream-like presentation?
Yeah, thank you.
So I think these two questions you must reflect upon. Thank you.
The first question, sir, I'm very happy that you liked this thing. We have to appreciate, of course, these film theorists. I was just a medium, and I tried my best to fit into the particular time limit. Otherwise, I would have explored more. As you said, often when we say that I am often I have this feeling, and believe me, I'm from my very core of my heart that I'm saying is that often I feel, am I dreaming when I'm awake? That does it really happen? And when you sometimes introspect, for example, that these things happened with me in past, or maybe I never expected this to happen, or maybe certain gestures, certain in certain in angle in which a particular person is watching you, or maybe you are passing there in a local train, you are traveling by local train, and there is another local train which travels opposite you, and you find someone who was watching you, and you feel, I have seen this person, and maybe in a split of a second there are ages that you reflect. So it is realism, it is reality, but it is in a dream mode that in a split of a second you think of days that I saw this person, I just peeped in the eyes of that person, but I explored the world, our relation, complete relation, and somehow or the other I felt I know this person, and the surrounding, the environment surrounding that person and yourself and your relation, in split of a second everything comes. And for me, all these things are dreamlike. They are like often when there is too much of heat, for example, and suddenly there is first drizzling, first shower, and when you just look outside the window, and in one of the branches of a tree, on one of the leaves, suddenly falls little bit below, and there is a raindrop, and I literally feel in that drop there is a splash, there is a full waterfall, in that one drop. It is really happening, but don't you think it is in a dream version, in a dream mode? So this is my answer to your first question. Second one is that about commercial cinema. Andrei Tarkovsky says, whom I follow very seriously, his philosophy. In one of his interviews, he used to live a life of solitude so often, because he believed that to live in nature in solitude is very important for internal reflection, for introspection, and to be a good human being also. He said it very beautifully that whenever you make movie thinking of profit, whenever you make movie thinking of how much turnover it would be, it is the cinema is going to deteriorate, because you are not making art, you are making business. And once business enters into art, that art remains no longer an art. It is just something that is give and take, demand and supply, and business, profit and loss. So it doesn't remain art. Therefore, I am absolutely, I don't watch art movies and commercial movies, and because it hurts me. Sometimes there are a few movies like film Anand, or maybe as Madam said, Amar Prem. There are very few films, or Mera Naam Joker, for example. They were commercially hit, and even Bimal Roy's film, for example, they were certain films which I am talking about, or maybe Mother India as well. These films were commercially hit, but they happened to be commercially hit, but they were very good movies, and they were made genuinely from the core of the hearts. And sometimes you find at box office it is not successful because people don't philosophize films. And they don't go to theater for philosophizing films. They go to theater only not to use brains and be in that completely pratibhasika satta, where things are absolutely non-existent, so that they are away from reality. So this is my take over commercial cinema.
But do you not think that this cost of production of films is such that this commercial angle cannot be given up? One thing. And when you talk about the dreams, then you must make a distinction between the dreams shown in the commercial cinema and the dreams of realistic cinema you are talking about.
Yeah. I think dream in realistic cinema. This is my take. Like Ivan's childhood, highly realistic, but it is in a dream mode. That is what my take is, that It is in the dream mode, for example. It happens in a dream mode. Even, for example, you take the film Nayak by Satyajit Ray, or you take Meghita Katara of Hrithik Ghatak, or you take Charulata, by Satyajit Ray. You find that actually it is highly realistic films. But it is, when she's on the swing, Charu, on the swing, and she's swinging, and at the same time, Amul, she's narrating, the protagonist, the male protagonist is narrating the poem, and she's listening, and when she's narrating, the whole thing happens in a dream mode. So it is dream in realism. This is what my take is. And in commercial movies, this doesn't happen, because you have to, you are there not to, you are just passing time.
Dreams are there, but reality is not.
Not there. Absolutely. It is, I told you, it's completely fake. Fake
Okay. Thank you very much. We need to discuss further on. I think.
Yes, Dr. Ghosh, Dr. Ghosh. Sir, Dr. Ghosh.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Professor Valmiki has given very scholarly picture of the ontology of film, and as usual, she has mentioned she has brought all the references to justify her position. Now, and the discussion actually starts with philosophy in film and philosophy of film. Every film is having a philosophy within it. That is without any...
Right.
But when we talk about the philosophy of film, then actually the discussion of ontology or worldview comes. Now, we take we take film as a temporary suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And that is why it is entering into a make-believe world.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is that, and again, 2-3 things you have mentioned, and that actually brings relevant for our purpose so far as the ontology of film is concerned. The first is film transcends the spatio-temporality of our human situation.
Yes.
This is one important thing. And it is again putting the backward and forward at the same time. So this is a question we can raise, how we can make backward and forward at the same time. And another thing I will add, that it is also making another philosophical issue, that how we can make both the presence and absence possible, because the actors are absent but the viewer is present. So both and the viewer is trying to get into the feelings of the actor.
Absolutely.
So that is how the philosophical and the phenomenological situation is this: how to make both this presence and absence possible. So this is some few observations I have made. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Amita ji, for Valmiki Madam, for a new area which you have pondered, and most of us don't know. Actually, we have not gone through the philosophy of films, and you do it, and that's the subject that has been taught at the MA level in your university. One thing that comes to my mind now is, films carry a lot of realistic sense. Even the fiction films, scientific films, movies, and they give a lot of input for scientific invention.
Absolutely.
So that's how, though film take us in a dream world, take us to a dream world, but they have a lot of bearing on the futuristic, inventions that film can take us through. So that's how films can be, though they are they are connected in a dream state of state, but still they have a connectivity to the future, especially the fiction films. Now, second thing, when we talk of the ontology of films, and you say that it's the dream world, okay, so when we say it's a dream world, we are totally involved in the film.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe, I don't know whether I'm wrong, I'm right or wrong. When we say it's a dream state, we are totally involved. We are totally involved with the film, because it's our desires, the dreams, which are not fulfilled in the realistic state, and we find a sort of harmony in that. Maybe we are totally connected, maybe. And my position is, if a realistic element is put into the film, I don't know if I'm right in saying this.
Yeah, please.
As you say, that films transcend the spatio-temporal world. That means the film somehow, they take us away from the realities of life. Okay, now what would be the position if the films reflect, I mean, the actual state of affairs? Well, does it make sense? I don't know.
No. Sir, my point is exactly that. It is actually showing. And for example, I gave you the example that you can keep your video on so that I feel I'm talking to you.
Yes.
I was telling you, sir, that exactly this is what happens in reality also. That I am in the real world, and as I gave you the example of two local trains passing by, and you see someone, and the whole gamut of thoughts come in your mind in the split of a second. Isn't it a dream mode? So in reality, you are actually also experiencing at every moment, a certain, it's like a dream. Sometimes I'm lying down and I'm reading a piece of article, and suddenly I feel, am I dreaming what I'm doing? And once for example, it's a very sad thing. Once I had a minor heart attack because of my illness, and because of the side effect of many things. And when I was admitted, and they found that there is a pause in my heartbeat, sometimes a pause. And I could realize when I was having this attack, and I was realizing there is a pause. So my doctors came to see me in hospital, and he told me that I said, I experienced this pause. And he says that there are very few people who are intellectually alert, they experience such things. That what is happening in the body. The pause, usually hard worker, they have no time because they are working so hard. But people who are intellectually alert, they since you are in academics, you can reflect, you can introspect, and therefore you experience this. Now this is everything in a dream mode. It happens. This is reality, but it is as if a dream. It is coming. This is what Langer says. I am too much in favor of Andrei Bazin's realism theory, but I loved the way Langer explains the way in realism you see the dream world, and therefore I showed Tarkovsky's Ivan's Childhood trailer, that a child experiencing war, and the communist regime that they want to implement, and the child is a spy who has never seen the mother, but still reflects that, oh, if my mother was there, and war, he's seeing the war, and at the same time he's going back that what if my mother was alive, how my relation would be with my mother. So whole thing is like in a dream mode. The reality itself is dream for me. Don't you think that we are experiencing at every moment, every breath we take, that it is a miracle? It is like dream, that the heart beats by its own, the breath goes on, the lungs does their job by their own. And I sometimes experience the air passing, inhaled and exhaled, and this is whole dream thing that I feel in a dream mode.
So, Madam, ontology of film is then reduced into the ontology of dream.
No, only for Langer. Only for Langer.
Yeah.
Not for Andrei or Bazin or Kavel. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Well, I see if anybody wants to raise any question or any.
There is one question in the chat box.
Well, the negative character. Well, she talks of the negative character in the film.
Yeah, but see, one thing you have to say that film, Madam Mishraji, the thing is that film is not social worker or social reformer. It's an art form. And I think we should educate the masses about this art form. So the negative characters should not have impact on real life. Problem is that in our education system, how much attention we are giving to art education, unfortunately. So when we are showing a film to a child, we are supposed to explain the child, if of course it is adult movie, we are not supposed to show. But if it is universal, everybody can see. We have to explain the child what is this, what is on the screen, and how these characters are portrayed, which may be there outside. And I think this kind of art education is not being given in our schools, colleges, in universities. There is no place. As I told you, that when we are doing this, we are giving these lectures, there are some teachers who commented that it is nothing but an entertainment class. Now, what to say when we are talking about Langer, when we are talking about Andrei's, Andrew Saris and such people who are analyzing cinema, great filmmakers like Rostami or Panahi, and these filmmakers have given whole of their lives in showing humanity, or in establishing harmony and peace, showing, compassion. And still people, we are not educating our children. We have to educate the society.
One thing, don't you think the ontology of film forces us to enter into the epistemology of film?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
because the way the things should be, or the shape of things to come. So these are all the problems of epistemology.
This is quite Aristotelian way. Yeah. Yes, you are entering into epistemology.
Yeah. Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you, madam. Well, we have with us our admin, Pramod Kumar Das, sir. Professor Das, if you want to say something. Well, Manisha, madam, she wants to say something.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Yes,
Valmiki ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, this is related to filmmaking. Okay. Isn't it a fact that, kindly educate me, because this area is new to me, but I'm very much interested.
We are all,
is it?
yes. We are all equal, please.
Yes. We see the film from the director's point of view, perspective. So it is like, poetry writing is a subjective affair. So if I'm writing poetry, I am elaborating some experience that is quite personal to me. Everyone may not understand. So how difficult it becomes on the part of a director to translate or to get his, passion and vision translated on the silver screen. Absolutely. Because it is a team affair. It is not like poetry writing.
Yeah.
One person's affair.
Yeah.
So, taking everyone together, starting from the cinematographer to music to everything, and producing a movie. So how does that happen? How challenging it becomes?
Yeah. See, when a filmmaker makes a movie, I'm talking about, of course, serious filmmakers, okay? We are not talking about commercial at all. So when we talk about serious filmmakers, their job is to make a film. For example, a sculptor. He makes a sculpture. His job is done. Now, when people question, he may answer, he may not. He is giving what he had to say through cinema. So there are beautiful line by Kiarostami. He says, Zafar Panahi. He says, if you can tell about a film, why make a film? I hope you got it. So if you can speak about something, then why make a film? Now his job is to make, or her job is to make a film. The director's job is to make a film. He has made. Now it is up to you. Now you become responsible. And all these serious filmmakers give too much importance to their audience, because in the end they leave it to their audience to interpret, and they respect their audience by saying that now you take over the job. What I have done, I have done. Now you take over the job. So it is up to you how you look, because my brother is a painter, very well-known painter, Atul Dodia, and he makes paintings, and people say that what do you want to say from this? He says nothing. What you see, that is what I am seeing. that is what you are seeing, just feel free to see what you see. So it is a difficult, sometimes I have certain thoughts in my mind when I'm making a movie, and that should, it should be conveyed the same way. This will not happen because subjectivity rules, and that can never happen. But at least we can participate, as I told you in your lecture, that we can participate in them and try to understand. Movies by Kiarostami, for example, or by Panahi, The Circle, it's a feminist movie which is banned. And this movie is banned in Iran, and he was given 6 years imprisonment, and he's still in house exile. And he's not allowed to make movies, but he's still made a movie on his mobile, and he smuggled the chip to France through confectionery, some cake, vagera, and he gave the title to the film, "This is not a film." Now, there are people who make films to that level, and they are not ready to leave their country, even if the country is being stubborn and not allowing them to make movie. वो जज्बा है उनमें कि हम फिल्म बनाएंगे, अच्छी फिल्म बनाएंगे जो मुझे बनानी है. And this element comes through their work. And when you are avid film watcher, if you are film buff, you constantly see. For example, Amar Prem I saw many times. Many times I saw, because one of the commercial movies which was very well, and anyway the actors are too great, Rajesh Khanna, and at the same time Sharmila is par excellence, and they emoted very well. And now you see many times, and then you get the nuances. You don't understand at one go. Good films are to be seen many times, and when you go on seeing, you start understanding. Like you read poetries, and then you get the flavor of it, and some become your favorite. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amita.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, Dr. Pramod Das, sir, well, you have to say something. Well, Dr. Das, well, he's there.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you, Manisha Madam. Thank you, Valmiki Madam. Both the talks were wonderful. I learned many things from both of them. Film in particular and literature in general depicts the reality. Reality that surrounds human life, human society, nature. And it is quite impossible to depict all the aspects of human life, human society in one film or in one drama or in one novel. Because we are viewing one film for 2 hours or 3 hours. So filmmakers, they focus on a particular problem or a particular concept or a particular sentiment or a particular issue, and they try to convey that message only through that film. Suppose we are talking about Amar Prem. That means the love that is immortal, that is not sensuous love. That concept should, that message is depicted through that movie. How this love is possible. Similarly, other types of love are depicted through other types of films. But the purpose is we try to speak the reality. I was listening to Dr. Manisha Chottare Madam when he was speaking about feminism, and she was with the problem that still the problem for women persists. Even we all are getting educated. Even there is a long gap of 50 years. Still, we are getting worried about the position of the woman in the society. And she took two examples, the film Amar Prem and the Thapad. Thapad is also a concept. That is also a concept. That is a very small concept. The entire picture has been picturized by that concept. How one can give a thapad to another, and particularly male to a female, that became a concept and that became a film. So in every film we have a message, and that message is very much real. So far as the dream is concerned, dream is nothing but the subjectivization of the objectivity. For example, when a director, the last question asked by Manisha Madam, that what is the role of the director, very tough, because the director has not experienced the facts. Director has to dream, has to imagine the facts, and he has to direct in that way. Also the story writer. He has to write the problems which himself he may not have experienced. So in that state, we have to land in a dream state. We have to land in imagination, and the more our imagination is mature, the more the film becomes real. So here the imagination is real imagination, and that touches our heart. If a lyricist or if a story maker or if a filmmaker, if a writer um, fails to dream, fails to imagine, he or she can't write anything else. So that dream is also real. So everything comes to us in the form of a reality. One thing I don't want to say in this forum, I am very sorry to say that when Madam was talking about the problem of a female, one thing is very much real that we should understand, that the reality of biological difference between male and female. That reality should not be ignored. Even if any mother of our family, she is very much conscious of her girl child. When she becomes grown up, she is restricted to go outside to move with others or to mix with others, to make relationship with others, because of this biological problem. We can't avoid it. This is the reality, and that reality is also depicted in many films, many cinemas, many dramas. The sensuous attitude, that is the animal attitude, and that is also reality. How a little child of 5 to 6 years is raped by a group of people. This is happening in our society. So there is a risk to female gender. We can't avoid it. We are all conscious about it, and this has been the real down the centuries, and it will remain real up the centuries. We can't avoid this phenomena. And when we are talking about gender difference, the psychology is different. Not only the biological difference is there, the psychological difference is also there. So we have to respect that. We have to respect the ability and inability of a gender. What a female can do and can't do, and what a male can do and can't do. And what a male can do, a female can't do, and what a female can do, a male can't do. So they are complementary to each other. They need each other. Purusha and Prakriti both are necessary for creation. So they cannot be equal in this point. I am not talking about social equality or other types of equality. They are the very much inequality, or the difference is real, and therefore in every film there is a hero and there is a villain in relating to a female heroine. Because there are two opposite. One question was asked about the negative character. Suppose there is a heroine and heroine is a female. So there are two characters. One is the hero character and the villain character. That means there are two possibilities of reactions, responses, and that has been depicted in film, cinema, literature, in drama, in novel. Number one. Number two, what is not said by us, that is said by cinema. What a father can speak to the doctor, what a doctor can speak to father, doctor can get that answer from watching a film or cinema. So the cinema is meant for all. The cinema is universal in that respect. And cinema depicts every aspect of human life, but it is quite impossible to depict all the aspects within 3 hours or 2 hours. Therefore, filmmakers, they conceptualize one theme and they go to the dream state, they imagine that, and even the commercial film, that is also a reality, because we don't want to be serious all the time. We need comedy, we need entertainment. That is also part of life. Otherwise we shall our life will become mathematical, logical. So if we take art in the serious sense, so there should be comedy in film, there should be all types of varieties are there. But the fact is that reality is so vast. The aspects of human life are so wide. Films can't express all aspects, therefore some aspects are banned. There is censor board that restrict the picturation of some aspects of films that we know very well. Which types? For example, the film about violence. Sometimes we also in our news channels we sometimes we see that such pictures are not visualized for the public, because that should not be visualized, that should not be picturized. So we are talking about ontology of a film, very nice. We are talking about philosophy of a film, very nice. We are talking about philosophy in film, very nice. And we are talking about the different social issues depicted in film, very nice. But a filmmaker, a director, and the audience too, they must have an ethical sense to what to see, what not to see, and the filmmakers should have an ethical sense what to show and what not to show. So the art of film is to be very much realistic by nature, and that realism is quite impossible without philosophical imagination. I congratulate both the speakers. I learned many things. I agree with both the speakers and also all the participants who gave their comments. I am really obliged to both of you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Professor Das. The very good take from your observation is that more the filmmaker or a director becomes imaginative. More he enters into the dream world, more he becomes imaginative, more realistic the film becomes, and that brings in the audience together. So this is a good take that you have from your observation. Thank you, sir. Now over to Dr. Maharana for carrying on the further proceedings. Over to Dr. Maharana.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Rao, for making your observation and making your analysis on both the speakers. It's pride privilege now to offer gratitude to both the speakers, Dr. Monisha and Dr. Valmiki, for their brilliant talks today. They have done a very wonderful effects to reach us. I don't find words how to extend my gratitude to both the speakers, particularly Professor Valmiki has analyzed the ontological effects of digital technology like film, its structure and treasure. She has made a beautiful connection between the cinematic realism and the philosophical realism by the concept philosophy in film and the philosophy of film. When he rightly says film is always reflected in a manner of dream. The philosophy of film has opened our a dimension of knowledge, our dimension of feelings, and it has made us to have a serious thinking and rethinking. So today, my gratitude goes to all the learned viewers and those who have particularly have given their observation. Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir, Dr. K. Umanana Rao sir, Professor Abhinash, Professor Amita Valmiki, Dr. Prashant Shukla, Dr. Vasundhara, Shravani Mishra, and all others. And we cannot forget to offer our thanks to Madam Reena, who has provided technical support to Madam Valmiki in her presentation. And today, Professor Pramod Kumar Das has made a very beautiful observation on both the talks. He has analyzed the reality found in every film, and he has also told about the ethicality of film and filmmakers. And today, the entire benefit of the talks is possible due to the connectivity of Professor Pramod Kumar Das with such brilliant speakers. And today, what amazed us that the short film on Ukraine, which is presented by Professor Valmiki, really it has made us speechless, and which contains serious thinking. So I must offer my gratitude to Professor Pramod Kumar Das, who has made it possible, who has, with the medium of interacting with all the intellectuals of the country. And today, Dr. Rao has very beautifully connected with the speakers and who has made his valuable observation on both the talks. So I don't have any words to offer my gratitude to both the speakers. Today, both the speakers have benefited us, and we are greatly benefited. The members of philosophy and the members and the students, scholars, and teachers across the country have been greatly benefited by both the speakers. Over to Professor Pramod Kumar Das for the conclusion.
We should also thank Dr. Maharana, for his coordination and for his observations, and for thanking all. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam, pranam. Amita Madam.
Thank you.
Amita Madam, pranam.
Thank you.
Okay, pranam to Monisha Madam.
Yeah.